Alexander Isak's future is spiraling into one of the most explosive transfer sagas the Premier League has seen in years, and Liverpool find themselves right at the center of it. When a player of Isak's stature publicly declares that his relationship with Newcastle United is broken beyond repair, it doesn't just create headlines, it shakes the very foundations of a football club. The Swedish striker's decision to issue a statement accusing the Magpies of broken promises and insisting that change is best for everyone has been interpreted by some as nothing short of declaring war on his current employers. And make no mistake, when a star forward takes a stance like that, the story rarely ends quietly. Liverpool fans, already restless as the transfer window edges closer to its deadline, couldn't help but sit up and pay attention. They've seen this movie before. A want-away star forces the narrative. The selling club digs its heels in. But sooner or later, the situation becomes untenable. The Reds themselves were once on the other side of the fence with Philippe Coutinho when Barcelona came knocking, and Liverpool had to decide whether to hold firm or cash in. In the end, they resisted until January, then banked a record-breaking fee that was reinvested into Virgil van Dijk and Alisson. Becker signings that transformed the club's destiny. Could Newcastle now be standing at that same crossroads? With Isak, the timing of Isak's declaration couldn't have been more dramatic. On the same day he was named in the PFA Team of the Year, he effectively announced that his time at St. James' Park was over. Newcastle's swift response struck a delicate balance. Disappointment mixed with defiance, but crucially, it stopped short of slamming the door shut. Their statement hinted that, while they weren't bowing to player pressure, they would still consider the right conditions for a sale. For Liverpool, that single line was a sliver of hope, a signal that the door isn't locked entirely. But here's where it gets interesting. Liverpool already tested the waters earlier this month, with a mammoth £110 million bid that was immediately rejected. Since then, they've held their fire, choosing not to push further. But that doesn't mean they've walked away. Far from it, behind the scenes, there's a sense of quiet anticipation. If Newcastle's stance softens in the final days of the window, Liverpool are ready to return, and this time the outcome could be very different. The parallels with Coutinho's saga are impossible to ignore. Back then, Liverpool knew they were losing one of their crown jewels, but they used the chaos as an opportunity to reshape the squad. Could Newcastle turn an Isak exit into their own transformational moment? Or will they mismanage the window, like Liverpool did in 2014 after Suarez's departure, and scramble for underwhelming alternatives? It's a high-stakes gamble either way. Newcastle's attempts to find another striker have been frustrating, bordering on embarrassing. They've chased names all summer: Liam Delap, João Pedro, Brian Mumo, Matheus Cunha, Benjamin Sesko, only to see them slip away. Now, with Callum Wilson already gone and Isak seemingly out the door, Eddie Howe faces the nightmare scenario of having no recognized center forward when the season is already underway, and every failed pursuit only strengthens Isak's hand. As the reality sets in, Newcastle need him far more than he needs Newcastle. Liverpool, meanwhile, can afford to be patient. They know how sagas like this usually play out. When a player has openly declared he no longer wants to play for a club, it rarely ends in reconciliation. Even if Newcastle force Isak to stay beyond September 1st, what then? Do they reintegrate him, risking a toxic dressing room and a half-hearted star, or do they repeat the Coutinho blueprint, strike a compromise deal with a release clause, and sanction a January move that saves face for all parties? From Anfield's perspective, either outcome keeps the door ajar. For Liverpool fans, the excitement lies not just in the possibility of signing a striker of Isak's quality, but also in what it could mean for their evolution under Arnslot. The Dutchman has inherited a squad brimming with talent, but still searching for a long-term focal point in attack. Darwin Nunez remains inconsistent, Diogo Jota struggles with fitness, and Cody Gakpo's best role is still debated. Isak, with his lethal finishing, intelligent movement, and ability to stretch defenses, could be the missing piece that propels Liverpool back to the very top of English and European football. And make no mistake, if Liverpool do pull this off, it will send shockwaves through the Premier League. Manchester City, Arsenal, and even Real Madrid have all been linked with Isak at one stage or another. But Liverpool have shown time and again that when they really want a player, they will fight until the very end. Van Dijk's drawn-out move from Southampton, Alisson's record-breaking transfer from Roma, even Darwin's high-profile switch from Benfica all prove that the Reds know how to play the long game in the market. So where does this saga go? From here, the most likely outcome, as some journalists in Sweden have suggested, is a compromise. A new deal worked out before the deadline that gives Isak an escape route in January, perhaps via a buyout clause that protects Newcastle's pride. While respecting the player's wishes, it's the kind of half measure that keeps the peace temporarily, but in reality, it only delays the inevitable. Once a player has publicly broken ties with a club, history tells us that the endgame is already written. For now, Liverpool wait. They watch as Newcastle scramble for attacking reinforcements. They watch as Isak trains alone, and they watch as the pressure builds with each passing day. But they'll be ready. Ready to strike if the door opens even slightly. Ready to test Newcastle's resolve again, whether this week or in January. And ready to give Alexander Isak the move he has made crystal clear he wants. Because in football, sagas like these don't just fizzle out. They build, they twist, they drag on, but they almost always end the same way, with the player getting his move. The only question left is whether Liverpool will be the club that finally wins this high-stakes game of chicken.